Alright, well, welcome one and all to the first episode of the Gore Report. Gore meaning get out and ride, not blood and guts. This here is my 2022 Royal Enfield Himalayan. This is my personal bike. Had it for a few months now. Just got it back from its first service a couple weeks ago. Got almost 500 miles on this thing. This first episode, we're just going to talk about this bike, how it fits me, what I like about it, what I might not like about it. And here, out in the beautiful desert west of Albuquerque, some old dormant volcanoes over that way. But so what we're going to do is just cruise around in the dirt a little bit. I'll talk about this bike a little bit. Like I said, it is a 2022 model. Bought it new. Only issue I've had with it so far is to do with the throttle position sensors. So if you're not familiar with these bikes, when I first got it, I had to use this guy. It's a enricher lever. Basically same idea as a choke on a carbureted bike, except this is fuel injection. Had to use this just about every time I started this thing. Went and looked on the forums and did find that your throttle position sensor is right back here. This bolt is right there, and it is adjustable. So went ahead and adjusted it a little higher on the voltage side. It does come from the factory pretty low voltage, so you just turn the whole thing just a little bit, and now, as you'll see, she fires up with no issues. No enricher lever involved at all. I do get a little bit higher idle out of this thing now. As you can see, it's about 1500 RPM right here, but this being a single cylinder, it is not an issue for me. Hopping on here, one of the things I also do like is not having to pull the clutch in every time I start it. I like to just push the starter button if it's in neutral. It's way easier for me. So set off here. This little trail. This is kind of what I like to do with this bike. Nothing too crazy, just some of these dirt trails out here. Some of them get kind of sandy, which not my favorite. I don't think it's anybody's favorite, but man, this thing is perfect for this. So obviously, if you're looking at one of these bikes, you probably know they are far from powerful. It is not enough to get you in trouble anywhere. Rated about 24 horsepower, which I think is perfect for this kind of stuff. I never let this bike get away from me. Track's pretty fine, and you know, compared to the last sort of adventure slash dual sport bike I had, which was a KLR 650, this one just feels more manageable off-road to me. Might be because of my height, 5'8", got about a 32-inch inseam, and a KLR is just a bit of a tall bike for me. Have to tippy toe most of the time and all of that kind of stuff on that bike, and this, I guess I just feel more planted because you know, if something happens, you put your 2 feet down and you're fine. You know, gotta hit a little bit of sand there. I hate sand, I gotta tell you. It's like riding on marbles. Anyway, but that is kind of how I feel about this guy. And this is kind of what I enjoy doing with it. You know, I do bop around town on it a little bit, and it's fine for that. You know, I don't really do much freeway cruising, and that kind of stuff is just not my thing really. I kind of just stay close into home. But I mean, done 65, 70 miles an hour on this thing, and it will, you know, I mean, you're topping it out by then. It's pretty high up in the rev range, but you know, if you need to do a little freeway stint, there's really nothing holding you back from that. Man, it just kind of floats over most of this stuff. I do wish I had a little bit of knobbier tires on it for some of this, just because when I had my KLR, I had on that thing, and they were awesome. Obviously not the best road going tire, being that it was knobby, but on this kind of stuff, man, it would just eat it up. And these stock seats, I think they're called, or whatever they're called, just not the best. I mean, they're okay. They handle the road pretty well. The dirt and stuff like that, sometimes not so much, but they do okay for my purpose. And you know, seeing what other people have used them for, it looks like they run out about 4,000 miles. So I'm probably just gonna run these damn things until they're dead, and then replace them with something better. But let's head back toward the main road this way a little bit. Hopefully this isn't as sandy as some of that other crap. But yeah, it's a beautiful day to be out here, and honestly, this is what I like about this bike, and what I like about this kind of riding is just, I'm not even that far from Albuquerque, but it feels like another world out here. You know, you're just cruising along by yourself, riding some dirt, having a good time, seeing some things you might not normally see. Got a hiker wandering around over there. And this is what I think the adventure riding is all about. You know, I just pick a trail out here and just see where the heck it goes. I don't know where half of them go most of the time. Looks like somebody dumped a whole hot tub out here. Good Lord. That's the only crappy part about riding out here, is that we're close enough to some of these neighborhoods that you see people dumping trash, which is kind of sad. Maybe I'll come back out here at some point and pick some of it up. Not too far from home, so I could do that every once in a while. But this is just kind of my pace with this bike, and kind of what I think most people are going to be doing with it. You know, not just bopping around town and maybe riding to work and back or whatever, which, you know, it's perfectly fine for that. Definitely get good gas mileage with it, although the fuel gauge here does err on the side of caution. I think I think last time I got 150 or 60 miles before it told me I was low on fuel, which I wasn't even really close to being low on fuel. But I guess, you know, you'd rather be I'd rather it be off that way than be something that tells me I'm almost out of fuel when I have, 10 miles left. But that's, one of those things too, that I typically try to refuel anytime I'm a little bit less than half a tank, I would say. So it doesn't really bug me too much. Like I said, I don't really do long trips or big long rides on this thing, so it's not a huge deal to me. This stuff is just fun cruising around. Somebody dumped some more garbage out here. And here we are coming up to the main road here. So this is just one of these random trails I decided to pop along here. But what I'll do too, if I can get a decent size space here, is I'm just gonna open this sucker up so you guys can kind of get an idea of what we're doing power wise. And it's not as dog slow as it was when I first got it. It does seem to have opened up a little bit. See, we're doing 60 here, just a touch under $5,000, and it's fine, I mean, if this is the extent of most of your highway riding, I mean, you can take it up to 70 and it'll still be below $6,000, but it's just pushing it a little bit, Not that it's undoable, but I just don't like to stress with the motor for too long like that. Not at the top of the rev range on a single. It's not really something you want to do for any length of time, just because it'll kind of beat it up after a while. But it's kind of where we are now, and I will just cruise around a little bit longer, just to kind of show some of the stuff we're doing on the street. And that's the other half of this motorcycle's life here, is cruising around. I go to my buddy's house on this thing. I take it around town if I need to run somewhere pretty quick, as long as I'm not going shopping or something where I have to carry a bunch. But man, the other thing too is, I've heard some people complain a little bit about the seat. I have no complaints whatsoever with this thing. The seat is comfortable. I've ridden this thing as long as, I don't know, probably an hour and a half to maybe 2 hours. I did not feel it in my butt at all, so really don't have any issues with that. The seating position is damn near perfect for me. It's really upright, really a commanding view without being too tall, which is my favorite part. Like I said, with the KLR, it was a little bit of a stretch for me to be riding that thing at my height. I think I was probably the shortest you could get away with without getting into trouble, and I would regularly one-footed at a stoplight in that thing, and it was a great bike, don't get me wrong. Love the heck out of it, love riding it all over the place, but now this thing just seems to kind of fit what I do more. Not to mention what it does for the price is just, it's got no competition in my book as far as it goes. There's nothing else that performs like this thing does, has the features that it does, and is, it's a $5,000 bike, brand new. Now, I haven't messed with the Tripper too much. I've used it a couple times just because I wanted to get a feel for it in case I needed to use it to go somewhere. So I know how to set it up. I have the app on my phone and all that stuff. And it seems pretty easy. I know at the beginning some people were complaining about it, but it looks like too they did some upgrades to it where you can add stops and stuff. So it's, yeah, I think they're really putting their people behind making this as usable as possible for everybody, you know, which to have that kind of support is pretty cool with a bike that's this cheap, you know. Like I said too, you know, I only have, let's see, 495 miles on it so far. I haven't had a single issue with this thing yet. I know it's still fresh, still new, but and I don't know that I'm going to have any issues. I've seen some other reported stuff from other owners, but really the only thing was the throttle position sensor, which it's really more of a I guess an annoyance thing than anything else for me. And you know, fixing it took probably longer for me to find the Torx head bit that I used to loosen it than it did for me to actually do the job. So, you know, if that's something that you're having an issue with, definitely take a peek on the forum, and they have some detailed instructions how to update that, adjust it a little bit so that you can kind of get away from having to use this guy here, which is kind of frustrating sometimes, because I usually like to start my bike and then get geared up while it's warming up. I give it a couple minutes or a minute to kind of get some fluids flowing through it. But other than that, really just a fun bike to cruise around on. A lot of times I just find excuses to get out and ride, you know, and that's kind of the point of this channel. This is my first video, obviously, but I'm going to try to have some more motorcycle content for everybody. Obviously, this is my personal bike, so it was my first choice, something to do a little video on. If you have any questions about it, if you have any comments, suggestions, definitely feel free to throw them down there in the comments box for me. And I'm gonna try to get some more content, not just on this bike, but you know, some other bikes that I think are cool and at least noteworthy, so that gentlemen such as myself and yourselves and ladies can, I guess, have somewhere to go to get a real world perspective, because we're not all racers, we're not all hardcore adventurers, you know, driving from South America to Alaska and all that stuff. As cool as that is, you know, I got a regular job and I have other stuff going on where I can't do that. So that's kind of how I see this bike fitting for me, is that, you know, it does everything that I want it to do. It's fun to cruise around on. Yes, it's not exceptionally quick, but I'm not at the point in my life anymore where I feel the need to go racing around all creation, although it is fun, don't get me wrong there. But there we go. Every so often a car flips over on this turn too. I'm not exactly sure why, but it happens. Anyway, that is about it for my little stint out in nature with this guy. Hope you enjoyed it, and there will be more to come. I might get a little crazy and interject some of my gambler car into this channel too, if you're interested in that. I have a 94 Geo Prism that's lovingly named Goldzilla. That is my safari car, for lack of a better expression. And I actually take that out on the trails too, out here, and romp it around in the dirt a little bit. Got a little lift on it, a few inch lifts, some big fender flares, big wheels, and the poor Rallyman's dirt tire, which are winter tires. snow tires. So might throw some of that content up here too at some point. But cheers to everybody. That is it for me. Get out and ride.